Creel, Clarissa. Once there lived a girl called Clarissa. On the outside she appeared to be the sweetest, kindest, gentlest little girl you could ever meet. Clarissa would wear little old-fashioned pink dresses, always with matching pink ribbons in her hair. Everything in her bedroom was a shade of pink. Clarissa had pink teddy bears, pink ponies, and a pink vanity set. The only colouring crayons she had were shades of pink. The girl had a collection of antique porcelain dolls, all dressed in pink night dresses that she tugged up in bed when she went to sleep. Clarissa's favourite toy was a miniature pink tea set. She would delight her grandmas and granddads by letting them watch her drink tea from a tiny cup and stuff her face with dozens of fairy cakes with pink icing. Everyone thought the little girl was absolutely adorable. However, this delightful behaviour masked what Clarissa was really like. The girl had a streak of dire cruelty within her, a cruelty towards cats. When she was a baby, Clarissa had grabbed a cat's tail and yanked it hard as she could. Meow! The creature had hissed at the baby and made her cry, and ever since then she'd hated the animals, and whenever no one was looking, she would do something beastly to a cat. Clarissa would pour pepper into a cat's food so it had a sneezing fit. Squeeze glue onto the branches of a tree so cats would get stuck up there. Tie two cats' tails together so neither could go anywhere. Paint one bright pink so it looked like a stick of candy floss. Attach one to a kite and then launch the terrified creature into the air. She would stick a stamp on one and post it to Australia. Use 100 remote-controlled toy mice to drive a cat crazy. Swap one with her grandma's wig so that the cat would be plonked on top of the old lady's head all day. Clarissa had been tormenting the local cats like this for years, but she'd never had one of her own. As it was her birthday coming up, Clarissa asked her parents for a very special present.
Mama, Papa.
The little girl spoke in a sing-song voice to make herself seem very sweet.
Yes, my angel sent from heaven,
replied Papa.
I am a little bit only.
Oh, my sweet baby cakes,
said Mama.
Whatever can we do, my snowflake?
Mama, Papa, it would be awfully nice if I have a little kitchen too.
What was she going to say?
Love?
The girl's parents had tears in their eyes. She had fooled them good and proper.
How did we create a child so perfect?
Asked Mama.
Clarissa is better than perfect,
replied Papa. The little girl smirked to herself. Mama and Papa couldn't wait until Clarissa's birthday, which was a whole week away. So the very next morning they surprised her with a very special present. Mama and Papa took Clarissa up her breakfast tray as they always did. The girl had breakfast served to her in bed every morning, but when they lifted the silver cover off the platter, instead of boiled eggs and soldiers, there was the cutest kitten you have ever seen.
Surprise!
The kitten's fur was as white as snow. It had the biggest, bluest eyes and the softest paws and a kissable nose that was dinky and pinky in colour. As Mama handed it to her, the little girl scooped it up in her arms and held it tight. The kitten meowed in pleasure and snuggled up to her.
Meow. Mama, Papa, I love her,
exclaimed Clarissa.
And she is going to love you,
replied Papa.
To the moon and back,
added Mama.
What on earth are you going to call her?
Clarissa thought for a moment.
Blossom.
Oh, my most darling of darlings, that is the sweetest name I've ever heard,
gushed Mama.
They are both so adorable together. I want to weep.
announced Papa.
Happy tears, I hope, Papa.
Asked Mamma.
Tears of pure joy,
replied Papa.
Good. Now the blossom is all yours, my sweetest sugar drop. Promise me, sir, you'll take good care of her.
Asked Mamma.
Of course I will. I just want to say you are best papa mama in the world. I love you heaps and heaps.
Mamma and Papa looked at each other, beaming with pride, and left the room. As soon as the door had closed, the little girl's cuter-than-cute expression changed.
White blossom.
Clarissa snarled. Her voice was deeper now, and the cutesy sing-song tone had vanished. Immediately, the little kitten was shaking with fear.
Cats are wild creatures. Now I have one to torment my heart's content. Meow!
Cried Blossom. The first thing that cruel Clarissa did was put her headphones over the kitten's ears and make her listen to a booming Beethoven symphony, really, really loud.
Ba 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 ba.
The little girl laughed as poor Blossom suffered. Clarissa flung Blossom on the fan hanging from her ceiling in her bedroom and put the fan up as high as it would go. She mixed chili powder in with the cat food. That meant when the kitten broke wind, she shot up into the air. The little girl had put her hair in curlers and gave Blossom an awful perm. Like a pirate, Clarissa made Blossom walk the plank into the pond. She styled her whiskers so it looked as if she had the silly moustache made by famous Spanish surrealist painter Salvador Dali. Worst of all was the time Clarissa smuggled Blossom into the Crufts dog show under her coat and then let the poor creatures loose for the dogs to chase. Now, of course, cats are very intelligent beings if you look at the animal list form.
Cleverest to stupidest.
You will see that cats come out near the top. From the stupidest is humans, sponges, slugs, goldfish, a bear, crows, and the cleverest, the cats, the elephants, the dolphins, and the orangutans. One night, while Clarissa was sleeping in her little pink bed after yet another long day of kitten tormenting, Blossom just managed to squeeze herself out of an open window. The kitten hopped across the roofs of neighbouring houses and followed the sound of distant meows. Under a silvery glow of the moon, the animals were dealing with business. Cat business. There were squabbles over territories, reports of badly behaved dogs, and tales shared of which old ladies were kindest by putting out saucers of milk for them. Overseeing it all was a mangy old tomcat who lived wild on a rubbish dump. Little Blossom was nervous about joining the group at first, but eventually she jumped down off the roof and met her fellow felines. Through tears, Blossom told the other cats about the cruelty she suffered at the hands of her owner. Needless to say, the cats were furious. How could anyone treat a defenseless little kitten like that?
Meow!
Once Blossom had described Clarissa to them, it turned out they'd all been victims of this beastly child, too. As leader of the coven of cats, the tomcat announced that they would all work together to take revenge on cruel Clarissa, and with a show of paws, the motion was passed. The very next night, under the cover of darkness, the cats would strike. The following morning, Clarissa woke up with just one thing on her mind: kitten punishing. The girl strapped Blossom to a roller skate and propelled her down the stairs. Clarissa pegged the poor creature to the washing line, right between Papa's underpants and Mama's frilly knickers.
Swing.
Clarissa tied the kitten to a model railway track, then flicked a switch to drive a train towards her at great speed. She attached a homemade contraption onto the kitten's back, which dangled a budgie in a cage in front of her, just out of reach. Clarissa painted Blossom's face orange and whisked up the fur on her head. Then she put the kitten in a little black suit with a red tie, so she looked like the President of the United States of America. Finally, Clarissa ate 10 tins of baked beans and blew off violently right on top of the kitten's head. However, despite all this kitten bothering today, Blossom didn't look the least bit bothered. In fact, throughout all these ordeals, the kitten just purred away. Blossom knew what was coming as soon as night fell.
Just you wait until tomorrow, Blossom,
whispered the girl menacingly. She went to bed, dreaming of more ways she could make her kitten suffer. In the middle of the night, the girl was woken up by a foul smell. She realized there was something whiffy right in front of her nose. Opening one eye, she saw a furry face staring back at her. Opening the other eye, Clarissa realized the terrible truth. She was staring straight at a cat's bottom. No wonder it was whiffy and smelly. It belonged to a dirty old tomcat. Clarissa screamed. The girl tried to get up, but couldn't move. Looking down at her arms and legs, she realized they were covered in cats. Oh, these strange moggies were pinning her down.
Get off me, you vile creatures!
She screamed, but the cats wouldn't let go. The girl flailed her arms and legs, but still they wouldn't let go. Using all her might, Clarissa rolled herself off her bed. Thump. With great difficulty, she stood up. Catching a glimpse of herself in the mirror, to her horror, Clarissa realized she was covered from head to toe in cats. Sitting on top of her head was Blossom herself. The kitten was smiling and purring loudly. This was revenge. The girl tried to knock the cats off by banging her arms and legs against the furniture in her bedroom, but the creatures just dug their sharp claws into her and clung onto her more.
Ow!
Yelled the girl. There was nothing for it. Clarissa had to scare the cats off herself. One thing these animals hated was the water. So the girl raced down the stairs, across the back garden in the direction of the pond. She took a running jump, and seeing water ahead, the cats all dived off her and onto the ground.
Splosh!
Cruel Clarissa landed in the pond, and after a moment she popped her head up out of the cold green water. Weeds stuck to her hair. The cats gathered around the pond. They hissed at her fiercely and reached out their claws to swipe her. So the girl ducked her head under the water again and held her breath. Surely the cats would disperse, but when they resurfaced, they were still there. Again, the outstretched paws all swiped towards her, their claws out. Clarissa hid underwater again. This went on all night. As dawn broke, her parents ran into the garden and shooed the cats away.
Shoo, shoo!
Shoo, shoo! Blossom jumped on the back of the old tomcat, and they all darted off. Mama and Papa dragged their daughter out of the water.
My poor darling!
Cried Mama.
What on earth has happened to our little ray of sunshine?
The girl had turned a nasty shade of green and was shivering with the cold. Her teeth were chattering like crazy. A frog was crouched on top of her head. Clarissa coughed and spluttered, and a tadpole she had swallowed shot out of her mouth. she wailed. The girl had never felt so sorry for herself in all her life. Cruel Clarissa had learned her lesson. She would never, ever torment a cat again. The tomcat took Blossom off to a lovely family, who often fed the old stray fish and chips. There Blossom stayed, loved by everyone. And for her next birthday, Clarissa begged her parents for a very different present.
Mama? Papa?
Said the girl.
Yes, my scrumptious little fairy cake,
Replied Mamma.
Please, can I have a bunny?